So I have to say, I'm so glad I'm able to talk about and review The Ascent for you, because this was a game I instantly wanted to play once I saw it debut on the Xbox stage last year. It caught my eye and it caught my attention, and it was something I knew I needed to play. So I want to thank NeoGiant for providing me the review code, and also thank you watching the video, because without you, this would have never happened. I would have never gotten a review code, and because of you watching my channel, I'm able to give you my perspective on The Ascent. But let's get into it and see what it is, and also see just how insane the game truly is. Alright, so before we move forward with the review, remember, like always, to hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to be notified on future content, hit that small little bell icon also. It helps the channel out a lot. Okay, so I'm going to get into certain categories about this game and give details about them and what I think of it. We'll first go into the graphics of the game, especially since this is running on the Xbox Series X, but I also have PC gameplay so we can get a good full understanding depending on where you want to play it, because that's what this is all about, seeing how the game plays on your PC or your Series X, considering this is an exclusive to the Microsoft platform. After that, we'll talk about the sound and the music, because this part of the game is actually pretty important, and to any game it's important. I love music, I love voice acting, and I love when the sound just hits the gameplay right. From there, we'll talk about the campaign and the story beats that are attached to this game. We'll go into the main story, but also talk about the side quests that are pretty hilarious if you ask me. After that, I want to talk about the gameplay, because at the end of the day, this is a video game, and to me, gameplay is the most important aspect of any video game no matter what. Sure, I love story and how a game looks, but to me, the most important aspect is gameplay, and I have to say, The Ascent takes that to heart. And to wrap things up, I'll talk about the fun factor and if this game is truly something you should check out, and you can see if I recommend it to you, because at the end of the day, we want to have fun when we play our games. But now let's jump into the first category, which is graphics. Okay, can we just look at the world that's being built here? This looks amazing. The aesthetic of the game is crazy. Character detail could be a little better, but again, this game isn't about the crazy detail in the character models. It's about the world building and how you run around it, and it's something they did a great job with. Not to mention, when you're fighting the enemies, you look great, and the combat is extremely fluid. I didn't have any issues with performance. There were some bugs on the Series X and PC side, but for the most part, it wasn't game-breaking. Not to mention, they told me about a lot of these bugs before I played the game, and they said that some of these day one patches or patches coming very soon will fix those. But overall, I enjoyed the look and feel of the game. The cyberpunk world worked for them, and it's insane and sometimes jaw-dropping, especially when you look at the world they built. That to me is the most impressive thing about this game, the world building. I have to say, the map they created, the world that they created, and the little corridors they created really made me feel immersed in the game, especially when I was playing on my 55-inch OLED. It was insane, and I'm talking about both on the PC and the Series X. It looked great on both platforms. But if a game looks great, does it sound great? And that's where the sound of this game comes in. Here's a little taste of what I'm talking about. I have to say, the music is top notch. There's no denying that. It's fun, it's fast, and it goes perfect with whatever situation you're in. If you're just running around to an objective, it's chill and still futuristic at the same time. But if you're in a crazy firefight, it builds up and just overloads the senses. Talk about great editing and programming on NeoGiant's end. As for the gunfire and the sounds of combat, I have to say, again, awesome. Now, of course, some guns sound a little bit samey, but others do have a unique side to them. They have certain feel and sound that makes them stand out. Especially when you start to get further into the game, you can really showcase some of the bigger guns. As for the voice acting, I have to say, it's kinda meh. They obviously didn't try to get some crazy actors on the game, and you can tell this was a smaller budget game made by 12 people, might I add, so that's pretty impressive. I'm not saying it's terrible, but it was something I didn't really care for, and that's one of the little knocks I have on the game, is that the voice acting and the acting in general for the campaign was a little off. And that's what comes up next, which is the campaign. Now this to me is one of the low points of the game. After a while, I didn't really feel invested in the writing or the story. Now of course for me, gameplay takes priority over story, but at the end of the day, if you're a story-driven game, give me a decent story. As I progressed into it, I realized they talked far too long and kind of threw names out there I didn't remember or didn't really care about. There was a couple cool looking characters, but they weren't cool once they talked. And your character, of course, doesn't really talk at all and is kind of this henchman running around completing tasks. So that aspect of the game could use some work. And I do have to say that I didn't play this with anyone, so the co-op aspect is something I can't talk about because I didn't experience it. And I don't know how the story progression, if you play with a friend who's beaten the game, works. So I can't give you feedback on that. And I'm looking forward to playing this game in co-op, so that's a plus side for me. If I'm looking forward to coming back into the world playing with friends, that means that the game did pretty good to grab my attention. Which brings me to the gameplay, which is the most important aspect to any game to me. And I have to admit, this game is awesome in that factor, especially on controller. If you play on PC, there is a bit of a learning curve with the mouse and keyboard to a point I didn't want to play with mouse and keyboard anymore. So instead, I always plugged in my Xbox controller and I had a blast. The aiming was good, the cover system was amazing, and the gunplay was quick and easy. Not to mention the frames didn't drop and the game ran smooth as ever every time I was in a huge big gunfight. That to me is huge. I want great performance in my games, especially when there's an intense gunfight and you're immersed and you're having a lot of fun and you're taking cover, you're shooting over cover, and you're trying to outflank the enemy while they're doing the same thing. Sometimes the screen is overwhelmed with enemies. There's so many of them, yet the frames didn't drop as bad as I thought they would. Oh, and I do have to say, the game is challenging to some extent. I ran into some bosses that gave me a pretty tough time, and I had to leave, do some side quests, or upgrade my guns and armor and head back to defeat them. So I would say complete side quests and actually immerse yourself into the world. And some of the side quests are so weird, like harvesting minerals that are of questionable origin, or just collecting random items that make you laugh. So yeah, check them out. But at the end of the day, they aren't very in-depth, from at least the ones I played. You usually go to one place, kill a bunch of guys, do a couple things at a computer, and then move away. That's it. I mean, some of the characters are funny, they say some funny things and some lines, but overall the side quests are a little forgettable. Now let's talk about the fun factor. I actually really enjoyed the game, and I thought it was pretty well put together, and I find it really fun, especially for an indie game that was made by 12 people. Is it earth-shattering good? No, the game is pretty awesome and the combat is awesome. The gameplay comes first. That's what I loved, and if you saw the in-depth video that the Ascent developers put together, you can tell they focused on two things: gameplay and world building, and I have to say, they knocked those out of the park, especially when you're walking around and immersing yourself in the city, going to different biomes and going to different areas. It was great. And when you get in fights, it's a lot of fun. You're really into it. You use your gadgets, you use your mods, you use everything on you to win the fight. And there is a learning curve as you go on. Sometimes it gets a little easy, and then boom, just like that, you're fighting for your life, you're having a good time, there's a lot of enemies on screen, and you will die. But as a solo gamer where you play alone, it's something that you'll play and then move on from. It's not something you'll stick around with or try to go back and play again. But who knows, maybe you will, especially if you play with a friend where there's co-op involved. That's where I want to check it out. That's where I think the game is truly going to shine, is in the co-op aspect. And I look forward to playing with friends in co-op. I'll probably dive into it even more during the weekend since it launches on Game Pass and most of my friends will get it by then. So overall, yes, I do recommend the game, especially since it's on Game Pass for not only the Series X, but PC also. Check it out and enjoy this Xbox exclusive that I think could be a fun game during the summer months where there's not many huge games launching right now. Do I think it's worth the price of admission? Yeah, I will say I would wait for a sale. Now, I know that's a little harsh, but since it is on Game Pass, I recommend everybody check it out. You might like it, and I want to get back into it once they patch a couple of the bugs. I think once they do that, I might enjoy the game a lot more. Like, one aspect is the Series X doesn't have ray tracing. Neither does the PC version right now, but the patch that will come day one or a couple days after launch will enable ray tracing. So there's little aspects that we missed that I want to see in the game as it goes on. But enough of what I think about this game. Tell me what you think. Are you going to play the Ascent? Are you already playing it? Would you buy the game if it wasn't on Game Pass? Could you believe that only 12 people made this? What's your favorite part about the game? Do you think the aesthetic of the game is the biggest draw, or is it the ultra-violent combat? Are you surprised this is an Xbox exclusive? What other games are you looking forward to? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamertag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. So this month alone, I have 3,000 achievement points. I've been playing pretty much every game. I've been playing on my PC, my Series X, and I've just been in the Xbox ecosystem playing so many games because of Game Pass. I just downloaded Flight Simulator. I've been playing through the Ascent for the last couple of days. I didn't get the review code weeks in advance like some people. I got it 2 or 3 days before the review embargo was up. So I've been playing that game like crazy because I wanted to give everybody a full chance to understand what I think of the game instead of playing the game and, you know, not really having that many hours in it. I think I'm about 15 to 20 hours in, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So that's what I've been playing, is the Ascent, Flight Simulator, and a bunch of Valhalla. But let me know what you're playing. Are you playing something on your Series X? Have you been waiting for the Ascent? Or are you going to be playing something on your PlayStation 5? Let me know down below, because that's what we're here for. So talk games. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching. And until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.